Okay, here we go. Christy Mattoon here, your subconscious change coach. I'm super excited to be here with you on this one. We're going to go into a little bit deeper of defining your why and trying to figure out what that is and help you discover what that is. Very important to know this so you can get through the process a little bit easier. When you're struggling within yourself trying to define what your purpose is or what your goal is here, knowing your why can help out with that a ton. So that's what we're looking for here today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the golden circle, which is a concept that Simon Sinek came up with. And so this is actually modified from his idea. And you can look up and actually watch his original video on YouTube. I think it was I'm not going to remember the name of it. What are those little 18-minute videos? TED Talk. It was a TED Talk. So you can look that up. But if you type in just golden circle, this will pop up. So very easy to get to. So the question is, why are certain people able to get things done and achieve things in their life and other people aren't? Why does that happen? Why are there people like Martin Luther King who led a civil rights movement when there was clearly other people around him who had the same position, had the same ability to speak and be creative with his words, had the same, good juju about him to put out there? But Martin Luther King was the one who stepped forward and took the reins. And you'll look all through history. Oprah Winfrey was one of those. She wasn't the only person in the world that had a struggling career and had a bad childhood, but for whatever reason, she was able to step up and take the reins and move forward in her life in a crazy, crazy, fascinating way, right? Beyond all expectations, beyond all reason. So it turns out that there's a pattern that all great thinkers and inspired leaders and people like that, the way that they act and communicate is all the same way. And it's a very basic fundamental understanding. Once you get it and you can start operating inside of this, it'll make a huge difference for you. But for other people, the ones who don't make it, the ones that don't get it, they kind of operate the opposite direction. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. So this idea of the golden circle will help explain this some. And we're going to take a look at that right now. So the golden circle is right here. The blue on the outside edge is a what. And for an individual purpose, for what we're looking at, because Simon Sinek always talks about it in tenses of corporations or organizations or businesses, I want to take this and modify it and use it for a personal idea. So the what can become a who, right? And the question is, who are you? What are you? Everyone in every organization can easily define their what. It's easy to know what you are. It's easy to know who you are. When somebody asks you, who are you? What do you say? I say I'm a cook. I was a pastry chef. I was a mother, a sister, a daughter. Now I'm a personal trainer. I'm a subconscious change coach, right? I'm a neurokinetic therapist. I have all of these titles under my belt. And so my what is easy. What is easy to understand? Your how, some people know their how, not everyone, just some. And whether that's using a coach or teacher or computer program, your how is how you get there. It's the method that you use to do something, okay? Your why is a whole nother subject. Very few people know their why. If you're a business and somebody says, what's your why? And you say, my why is to make a profit, that's not a why. That's a result. Okay, that's a result of actually what you do, not a result of, and it could be a result of the why, but it's not the why. Okay, so what Sinek says is that we think from the outside in. So when we're looking at this circle, we start here and define ourselves by what or who we are, and then we work our way inside here, and most of us never get to the why. We never get to that piece to figure that part out. And that's a hard way to live, because if you're living way out here in the what and the who, you live by the expectation of the position or the title or the status that you hold. And that just makes everything really super tough. So when you're defined by your why, what am I? What do I do? What have I done? What can be the who is the same thing, right? You define yourself by who you are. You define your life by what you are and by what you think you're supposed to be. And some of that stuff comes out of your childhood. Some of that stuff comes from the things that you learned as a child and got locked into your subconscious mind, which is why we're here doing this. So let's take a look at the next slide here. So we start at what, like I said, and we work our way in. It's how most of us communicate who we are. We say what we do. We say how we're different. And some don't even do that. They just try super hard to show it, right? By their looks, a tattoo, a piercing, their clothing. So you're really trying to show who you are. And we expect an outcome from this. We expect accolades. We maybe expect a raise. You expect a pat on the back, some kind of recognition. We expect others to take notice, some kind of notice at our what, whose, and the hows. They have to be so big that someone will stop and go, wow. And that's what gives you your identity. That's what gives you your self-worth, is living inside that your what, your who, or your how was so big that somebody actually noticed it. But our emotions get so wrapped up in that when we don't get those accolades, we don't get the raise, we don't get the notice, right? And it's very, very uninspired. It's very uninspired. And honestly, others don't care. That's a hard thing to hear, but people just don't care. They're uninspired by what you are. They're uninspired by how you got there, because for everybody that looks the same, right, with a few little tweaks and modifications. It's when you can get into this area of why that all of a sudden things begin to change. So this what and who and how can actually be super hardwired into your brain by your past experiences. If you were watching a father that worked all the time, or a mother that worked all the time, you're right, they had their certain ways they went about things, but it was always about what they did, maybe what they owned, how much they had, right? The old idea of keeping up with the Joneses. And now we are so uninspired by these things, and we're just all searching for this why. Why am I like this? Why can't I get beyond the blocks? Why can't I move into a different arena? Right? Who am I really? How many times have you heard somebody ask that? And we're just stuck in this whole thing. So the what and the who are really super clear. Like we said, everybody knows this. Everybody understands that part. That's a super clear piece of it. The how is just how you get there, and the why is a really fuzzy area. Very few people are able to find it. That's why there's so few people running around that have achieved their greatness, have achieved the goal, right? The things that we all look for and think we're striving for. So maybe a better question to ask isn't, who are you, or what do you do? Maybe the better question to ask is, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? It's an interesting question, and it's a hard thing to sit and ask yourself, because you really have to start digging down inside. What is your purpose? Why are you here? Why are you here, and why should anybody care? So people don't really care what you do as much as why you do it. So Sinek teaches that the goal is not to do business with people who need what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. So like I just said, people don't really care what you do as much as why you do it. It's that feeling that you interject when you are so in touch with your purpose, with your cause, and you believe so big about why you're doing what you're doing. It's that underlying, not about the what, but about the why, the purpose behind it. It's actually your presentation of yourself to the world. What you do, what that feeling is, that seems like it's kind of fuzzy, when other people feel it, that's when they start to engage with you. And that's when you start to be able to engage with yourself and not define yourself by the what and the who. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. What if you believed about yourself what you want to believe about other people? Right? So if we take it out of the business model, the problem is we don't know what we believe. Were we ever taught to believe anything about ourselves except that we're defined by how much school we did, about what the title was we received at our graduation, right? About what the title is once you're in your job position. Were we ever taught to understand that there's more internally working than just those outside exterior forces that drive us into certain patterns, into certain things? So that's what your why is about. Make sure you check into the next video, because what we're going to do is go through that whole handout. It's a download that'll be right in here, so make sure you look for this. And we're going to go through it one line at a time, and we're going to start to kind of unravel things and figure out your why. So I'm super excited to be helping you through this. Let's get to it, and I will see you in the next video.